Story 1. I work in northern Canada doing reforestation for 3 months each year and earn $45,000. I spend the rest of the year outside the country. I have been doing this for 7 years and have personally planted 1,400,000 trees. Story 2. I worked in sales for 15 years and hated the corporate culture. I quit everything and moved to Latin America. I now work 20 hours a week tutoring English and hosting karaoke. I live a 2-minute walk from the ocean, and life truly has never been better. I am debt-free and have been for about a decade. I buy everything I want in cash. If I cannot afford it without financing, I do not buy it. Story 3. I was a truck driver, making $130,000 a year, and I was home every night. I was a member of the Teamsters Union, with a pension and free health insurance for my whole family. I just retired at 50. We have the 80 rule. If years of service plus age equals 80, we can retire and collect a full pension. I moved to Southeast Asia and am loving life on my pension. Story 4. I am a 50-year-old male. I own and operate a house cleaning business. I started it 35 years ago, making $12 an hour. Now my show fee is $75, plus $50 per hour after the first. I work 48 hours a week. I am debt-free. I do not have a high school diploma or a general educational development certificate. I dropped out in 10th grade. I clear $130,000 a year, have invested well, and will be retired in 5 years at age 55. Story 5. Oil field crane operator. I earn $200,000 a year and have 4 months off each year. Both daughters' college tuition was paid in cash. 2 house payments remain, and I am 46 years old. Story 6. Emergency medical services helicopter dispatch pays well and has a lot of downtime. I am at work right now. Story 7. Chemical operator, $107,000 a year. I mostly sit back and relax. I only occasionally have to get up and do something. Story 8. I have been an instructional designer for about 25 years. I did not have a degree until 8 years ago. I was already at the top of my job band. I completed my degree as a personal goal. Story 9. I gave up a lucrative career in property to pursue a degree and a master's degree. I now work in a call center. Story 10. I only have an associate's degree from a community college, which some people hardly consider a degree. It is similar to attending a technical school. I now work in information technology for public schools. I could potentially earn between $70,000 and $100,000 per year, but I currently make a bit less because I am not a director or an administrator. If I decided to get additional certifications for a better paying job, I would probably have to relocate closer to a large city, which I do not enjoy. It is a trade-off. I am in the United States of America. I realized that using the word university suggests the reader is probably outside the United States. Story 11. I joined the Army to pay for college and never finished. I do have a few years' worth of credits, but no degree. I have done a lot of technical work over the years in and out of the federal government, ranging from my military background as an electronics technician and radio frequency work to run-of-the-mill information technology operations. My longest and current career is as a senior network engineer. I spend much of my time analyzing firewall policies and optimizing application traffic for web applications. My university experience has helped me as much as my technical training. I really enjoy the work and have a true passion for it. Unlike many of my colleagues, I enjoy working with people, which I think is an advantage. My wife works, and most of our children are grown, so between us we do fairly well. We live in a high cost of living area, so while we are comfortable most of the time, we still feel financial strain. Story 12. I dropped out after a year, and now I am a user experience designer making more than my friends with master's degrees. Story 13. Industrial maintenance. $100,000 per year. Benefits include 4 weeks of vacation, medical insurance, vision insurance, dental insurance, and life insurance, an employer match for the 401k retirement plan, and additional benefits such as employee discounts on gym memberships and phone plans. A large portion of the job involves monitoring the system. If everything is running correctly, I perform preventive maintenance tasks and review system reports. Story 14. I have a degree in baking and pastry, and now I clean rental and used cars for only 50 cents less than starting pay. I have worked with many people in restaurants whose degrees did not work out for them. Story 15. I am a penetration tester and security consultant. I was a systems administrator for nearly a decade before that. Formal education probably would have helped back then, but I have always been an autodidact when it comes to learning, so perhaps not. Story 16. I work in public works. I messed up a lot in life, but I turned myself around before I was 30. After 2 years, I am making about 60,000 or closer to 70,000 with overtime. I live comfortably and well within my means. Even without a promotion, in 10 years I will be making well over 110,000. I can retire in 28 years with a full pension and benefits. I did not take a smart path, but I am a living example of second chances. Story 17. I became the Director of Information Technology in the Chief Information Officer's office at a Fortune 100 company. Story 18. Crusher Foreman. I take ugly rock and dirty material and crush and sort it into various kinds and sizes of aggregate. I maintain and repair the plant and operate almost every piece of heavy equipment on site to keep things running smoothly. Primarily, I operate a 50-ton loader feeding the plant. The pay is about $85,000 to $100,000 a year, depending on overtime. A company truck and a fuel card are provided. I am relatively new, so there is still room to grow. Not a bad job. Story 19. Most replies seem to be for men. What do women without a university degree do? I'm eager to know. Story 20. After high school, I attended secondary vocational education, comparable to community college in the United States. I completed combined levels 2 and 3, then completed level 4, the highest level. I could have returned to take the same program at higher professional education, but I chose not to. I earned a degree as a technical specialist in automotive mechanics. I have 9 years at my current job as a mechanic. I started when I was 16 and I am now 25. I am doing fine and make 30,000 euros per year. Story 21. Short answer. Sales. Long answer. I spent 8 years working at a major corporation, starting in the call center and working my way up to a territory manager before being laid off in 2024. I now work in property management, where 80% of my job is sales and 20% is property management. It is enjoyable, and I am trying to be the change where I have the power to do so in this field because I strongly disagree with how many landlords behave. Story 22. I semi-retired at 40 and now work for myself. I earned my money in sales. Story 23. I am a public assistance eligibility worker for my state. I earn about $56,000 per year. The job has excellent benefits and a pension, and I still pay federal insurance contributions act taxes. There is a clear path to move up to about $78,000, and it then tops out unless I earn a degree. I am thankful because that is about the maximum I can make in my area without a degree, except through entrepreneurship. Story 24. I manage a medical transportation company and oversee its scheduling. $77,000 per year in a poor state. Story 25. As a software engineer, it was an idiotic decision, but this is what happens when you have no peers, mentors, or connections. Story 26. I attended the now-defunct International Telephone and Telegraph Technical Institute. Because of its reputation and because the school became effectively unaccredited after a massive lawsuit, I usually tell people I did not go to college at all, since my degree is worth less than the paper it was printed on. That said, of all the people I attended school with, I am likely among less than 5% who are still employed in their field of study. Story 27. Secretary and receptionist. It is a comfortable job and it pays the rent. I definitely want to study something again in the future, maybe get into art. Story 28. I run a landscaping crew. It's the most fun job I've ever had. I love my team, the work, being outside, and being my own boss. Story 29. Container barge captain with a good salary. 6 months off per year plus additional vacation days. Free food and utilities on the boat. Story 30. I dropped out of Drexel University after about 18 months, and it cost me far too much. Now I repair cars, focusing on Bavarian Motor Works vehicles. I earn an average of $100,000 to $120,000 per year, so I really cannot complain. I have driven some extremely nice cars throughout my career. Story 31. Bud tender. I legally sell cannabis. I make about $1,000 a week. Story 32. I am a meat cutter. I never have a consistent schedule. I work 10 days in a row with no overtime because of how the weeks roll over. I am sore every day from lifting and stacking 80-pound boxes of meat by myself. I work every holiday. Life sucks. Story 33. Ironically, I work at a college. I am an administrative staff member in one of the main offices. The position required either work experience or a degree, and I had the former. I might go back and finish my degree because it will be free this time. Story 34. As a college graduate reeling from repeated job rejections, this thread makes me cry. Story 35. Bueno, tengo dos títulos y vivo en Venezuela. Sin embargo, no he ejercido con ninguno. Me dediqué a ventas industriales, ya que soy ingeniero, y para no sentir que había colgado el título me metí en ese campo. Menos mal que lo hice, porque de lo contrario hubiera muerto de hambre. Aquí no hay oportunidades para ingenieros, no se produce nada. Los únicos que se salvan son los ingenieros civiles, porque sí hay construcción. La reflexión final es que de nada sirve estudiar algo si en el lugar donde estás no hay oportunidades. Lamentablemente, las universidades siguen viviendo en la utopía, ofreciendo carreras con las que nunca podrás ejercer, entre ellas la ingeniería industrial. En Venezuela eso no sirve para nada. Antes de que alguno diga que a él sí le funcionó, que indique el sueldo que está ganando como ingeniero. Porque sí se consiguen ofertas de empleo en el ramo, pero los sueldos son para llorar. Story 36. Not me. My brother only completed a few semesters of college before dropping out and now works as an electrical engineer. He had to obtain special exemptions from human resources for his current job because they kept balking at his lack of a degree, and the chief executive officer had to step in and say, no, we are hiring this guy. Story 37. I have done account and project management. I am now a doula and a perinatal behavioral health coach working remotely and flexibly. I also teach classes on childbirth and breastfeeding. Story 38. Intelligent automation developer working with robotic process automation and artificial intelligence. I never passed my general certificate of secondary education in mathematics, so God knows how I managed this. Story 39. I dropped out of engineering school in 2008 because of family financial difficulties. I got a seasonal job at the United Parcel Service and ended up becoming a driver. I currently make about $110,000 per year. I receive 6 weeks of paid time off, comprehensive health insurance, and a pension. I think about going back, but I am unlikely to receive these benefits or this pay in my intended field for at least a decade. By that point, I will be close to retirement. Story 40. I deal with the stock market. Psychologically, I am depressed and antisocial, but this is my only chance. Story 41. Manufacturing is physically demanding but pays well and offers good benefits. Story 42. Social media marketing for a government agency is quite fun, and a number of my colleagues do not have formal qualifications. Story 43. I am currently a pet sitter. I plan to go back to school once I move to another state, but I cannot decide what I want to do. Story 44. I just finished my degree this year. I work in advanced technical support, and I had that job before I returned to college. Story 45. Information Systems Analyst. I do not have an information technology degree. Practical information technology jobs taught me a lot, and I benefited from the faith others placed in me. Story 46. I obtained my license as a nursing assistant and have worked in that role for over a decade. I enjoy the work and the pay is decent, although it could be higher. Story 47. I was a medical assistant until a few years ago. I am a stay-at-home mom now and make a significant amount of money according to our tax returns. About half of my husband's income. Story 48. I do not have a diploma and I am barely surviving. I need to pay off some debt, and it is very hard to find a job these days. I live with my mother. I want to get a diploma next year, but I do not know if I can do it because of my debt and mental health issues. Story 49. I went to university to study computer management and networking but dropped out during the first year. I switched to motorsport engineering, which I really enjoyed. I failed because my major project was very poor, so I did not get a degree. I worked several low-paying jobs for a few years but lucked into a job at Volkswagen that paid far more than it should have for the role, selling parts to local garages. 3 years in that position enabled me to get a foot in the door at a company that manufactures refrigeration equipment. I provide technical support, handle warranties, and maintain parts lists. With fewer hours, higher pay, and more time off, I received a £9,000 pay rise in under 3 years with only a little more responsibility and work. In the last 3 weeks, I have spent half my days on Reddit. I have no formal qualifications at present but will complete some certifications over the next 12 months, which should allow another pay increase. I now make more than double what I made 6 years ago. Story 50. I am a municipal government employee. I make about $75,000 a year. I am next in line for a lead job that can pay up to $100,000 a year, with extended health care benefits for my partner and me and a pension that pays me for life. Story 51. Maintenance mechanic, $36 per hour, with 5 weeks of vacation and excellent insurance coverage, plus 3 times pay on holidays and double pay on any 6th workday of the week. I also own a bar and bought into a friend's business, which has grown dramatically over the last 8 years. Proceeds from the bar and the business go straight to savings. My wife is a housekeeping manager who earns $27 per hour and owns a couple of farms and houses in her home country. That income also goes straight to savings. Our son graduates in 2032. I will turn 50 shortly after, and we both plan to retire then. Story 52. I have an associate degree. I am a director of product at a financial technology company. I worked my way up from an hourly call center role over 10 years. Story 53. I work in armed hospital security and make $22 an hour. I work in-house, meaning I am not employed by a contractor, and I receive paid time off, decent insurance, and have a pretty good team. Story 54. I am a personal injury case manager at a law firm in my hometown. Story 55. I have a degree and still cannot get a receptionist job, while many people are making close to $100,000. Story 56. I dropped out of the University of Toronto and George Brown. I could not work in the system. Today I am an artist. Tonight I am hosting a Toronto philosophy meetup. I am also a proud cat owner. No regrets. I got into the system and decided it was not going to work with me. I am too much of an individual. I cannot go along with the herd. Story 57. I have about 60 college credits and no degree. I worked in behavioral health for 13 to 14 years before joining an administrative team at a transitional living facility. I primarily work with data and manage the electronic medical record. Story 58. Chemical Dependency Counselor Assistant. You need a total of 70 credit hours, which you can complete online, and a high school diploma. I help people gain access to rehabilitation services and counsel them about their addictions while they are waiting for a bed to become available. The pay is low, so I am looking to use my experience to find a different position eventually. Story 59. I am really happy for everyone's success posting here, but I am sure there is a bias toward people posting because they are doing well despite the odds. In case any young people entering the real world are reading this thread, I want to offer my lack of success as someone who did not get a university degree. I worked at dead-end retail jobs for a few years. Then I worked in outside sales, driving around a predetermined area trying to sell my product to stores and not making much money. That led to a more lucrative sales job, still only $65,000 in 2015, which I was not equipped to handle, and from which I was fired very quickly. After that blow, I went back to retail, specifically grocery store management, making less money than before. I worked my way up in management until I realized I did not love the job. I had loved the people I worked with when I started. Around that time, I found a passion for technology. I went back for an associate's degree and then a bachelor's degree. It was honestly much easier than the first time I tried going to school. I had matured a bit. Now I work in information technology. Do not get me wrong, it is still a job with its ups and downs. but at least it is something I am genuinely interested in. My point is to offer advice to anyone entering the workforce and wondering what they should do. Just because you can make money doing something does not mean it is worth doing. Remember that you will have to live every day with whatever career you choose. You do not want to hate 5 out of 7 days of the week just to hit some monetary goal. Take the time to figure out what you are interested in and pursue it. If you are truly passionate, money will likely follow. If doing that requires a degree, get that degree. If it takes you a decade to figure it out, that is fine too. Story 60. I work at a tea shop. I get to make tea for people and sell loose-leaf tea. I worked in various retail and restaurant positions for about 11 years before I got this job, and it is the best job I have had so far. Regular retail is terrible, and I dread the day I might have to leave this place. Story 61. Working as a banquet server in various hotels can be very lucrative. You can easily make $100,000 or more and set your own schedule when you are working on call or part-time. If you have a full-time position, you are in a strong position. You often do not work all scheduled hours, but you can make great money working 20 to 30 hours a week. Depending on the hotel where you work, pay can range from $30 to $100 or more per hour. Story 62. I learned a trade repairing hydraulic systems. I started my own company, and now I have multiple locations. I am doing very well. I live comfortably, was able to buy my house, and can afford to give my children the things I never had. I can also travel. Story 63. I am a registered nurse with an associate degree. I worked in the intensive care unit for 18 years. Because of my experience, my career choices are limitless. I attended a regionally recognized rigorous school. The hospitals knew I was qualified for the job and gave me opportunities. My coworkers never knew I held an associate degree. Story 64. Age ranges: 18 to 34. Landscaper, laborer, foreman, designer. 34 to 36. Web designer. 36 to 47. Junior and senior front-end developer. I was laid off as a front-end developer in May 2025. I was just hired as a senior clinical data analyst. Story 65. We start the day by wrestling a wild llama for breakfast, translate 3 hours of hand gestures into a work meeting, and end it by negotiating with our coffee machine like it owes us money. Pretty standard. Story 66. I work as an ass wiper in a group home. I went to college for 3 years, planning to study mechanical engineering. I dropped out for financial reasons. I've been stuck in dead-end jobs since. You cannot get anywhere without a degree anymore, and it has become nearly impossible to obtain one without substantial financial help from others. Story 67. Information Technology Program Manager. Started in production, moved to information technology support and training, then worked as project coordinator and business analyst, and then became project manager. All internal moves. Story 68. Commercial mechanic to mining equipment operator. Starting salary: $80,000 per year. Benefits that meet or exceed New York State benefits. Transition to fly-in fly-out operations within a few years. Story 69. I work in the information technology industry making 6 figures. Not having a degree almost definitely hurt me in the first 5 years or so of my career, but after that it is not an issue, as employers are more interested in what you can do rather than what you studied in college. Story 70. I am a senior automation technician for an energy producer. I love my work, but at 42 I regret not pursuing higher education. Story 71. I recently started my own company as a headhunter. The sky is the limit now. Story 72. I am a senior software engineer. I left college where I studied commercial art and got married. I worked in a factory and was later laid off. Friends taught me to use a Macintosh, Adobe Illustrator, and Adobe Photoshop, and I got a job in graphic design. After being laid off during the dot-com bust, I took a job in the information technology stockroom and moved up in the information technology department over 14 years. 9 years ago, I was hired in the programming department and learned to program. Story 73. I dropped out of college, but this has not stopped me from working professionally as a teacher, writer, data scientist, project manager, interpreter, and other roles. Sometimes the skills you have are more important than having a diploma. Story 74. I left school in year 10 to work as a plasterer. I started my own business at 22. I broke my shoulder playing sport. I moved into selling new homes. Now, at 34, I have 36 representatives reporting to me as head of sales and make roughly $550,000 a year. Story 75. I started as a welder with my 2-year diploma from a trade school. I now work in production control. It's a climate-controlled desk job that pays the bills. On slow days, I browse Reddit and teach myself new Microsoft Excel spreadsheet tricks. Story 76. I went into web development as a self-taught developer, sold software to business owners, and ran a software as a service business. I then moved into publishing and blogging, made good investments along the way, and have lived frugally. I am now semi-retired and in my early 40s. Story 77. I work in program support and teaching quality assurance at a large United Kingdom university. I started as a temporary receptionist 20 years ago and worked my way up to my current role. I have worked for a new university established approximately 30 years ago, an exceptionally old university established approximately 530 years ago, and now for a large Russell Group university. I have worked across the healthcare, business, and engineering faculties. The irony is not lost on me. Story 78. I started a small factory 6 years ago when I was 24, without a degree and not enrolled in university. 2 years into the business, I enrolled in an online degree program and completed the degree last year. I did it only to have a degree. It was not related to a job. Story 79. I am an insurance account manager responsible for a large book of clients. My base salary is $100,000 per year plus commission, for a total of about $145,000 to $150,000 per year. My husband did not graduate from college. He is a landscape design professional, earning $120,000 per year. My sisters both have master's degrees from highly regarded universities, and they do not understand that I earn about twice as much as they do. I live in a high cost of living area and have been in this industry for many years. Story 80. Firefighter and paramedic. I earn more than $100,000 per year. I work 2 days a week, totaling 48 hours, and we are paid to sleep as long as no calls occur overnight. It is like winning the lottery of jobs. Story 81. I am an environment, health, and safety professional. Technically, I have an associate's degree which I earned through the Community College of the Air Force. I did not have to attend classes. I tested out of 5 courses and received the degree. I also have military experience. For the most part, the lack of a 4-year degree has not been a hindrance. Most employers see the military record and associate's degree combined with industry experience and consider it sufficient for an interview. Occasionally, I have been asked, "Are you going to go back to school?" by people approaching retirement, but not by hiring managers aged 30 to 50. I tell people that even though I disliked much of my 6-year enlistment, joining the military was one of my better life choices because it set me up for success. Job opportunities, healthcare before I had good coverage from my employer, a Department of Veterans Affairs home loan, and other benefits have helped me remain stable through my 30s. I am now approaching my 40s and am ready to move on from general and managerial positions and to specialize. We will see whether the lack of a 4-year or graduate degree becomes an issue. Story 82. I am disabled now, but I started out in personal computer repair, wound up building local area networks, transitioned to system administration and then network engineering, and ultimately worked in cybersecurity before having to leave the workforce. I did all of that without ever earning certification, much less a degree. I am not sure that is something you could replicate today. I began in the early to mid-1990s before most certification programs existed, and I was an enthusiast who knew enough to get my foot in the door in job interviews and then built up the work history to keep me going. Story 83. I am a jet pilot. This is my first jet job, and I make about $75,000 a year. I work 10 to 15 days per month. Story 84. I am currently a petrochemical pressure equipment inspector with American Petroleum Institute 570 and American Petroleum Institute 510 certifications and a National Board Inspection Code in Service certification. I reached this role after working as a rope access window washer, earning non-destructive examination certifications, and completing American Petroleum Institute certifications. Story 85. Information Technology Security Governance Specialist. I have worked in information technology for almost 30 years without a degree. I am now pursuing a bachelor's degree in information technology management on a part-time basis because I want to, and I regret not earning a degree years ago. It will likely have little or no impact on my career, though. Story 86. The phrase "people who do not have a university degree" sounds awkward. A university degree is preferable to an university degree. Story 87. Wagon Master. I inspect cargo wagons and their loads to ensure they are safe for travel. Story 88. I have been in information technology for 30 years, all stemming from my need to build a personal computer that would run Doom from 1993. Story 89. Software engineer specializing in full-stack mobile applications. I have been in the industry for 35 years and was hired during my undergraduate studies. I never finished my degree and continued my career. Story 90. I have been a full-time translator for most of my career. I have also worked as an office manager at a pharmaceutical company and as a data analyst. I am currently a full-time technical author and continue to work part-time as a translator. Story 91. I sell orthopedic medical devices. 10% of my work is sales, 80% is in the operating room, and 200% is inventory management. Story 92. I am a large-scale project manager in the energy industry. Story 93. I have 2 degrees, one in business and one in industrial design. I use neither. Now I fix appliances. I sought this job because it tends to do well during recessions, and I feel a recession coming. I do not want to get caught unprepared like in 2008. I am very lucky. I managed to buy a house in 2016 with benefits from the Servicemen's Readjustment Act, and now my mortgage is $1,000 a month. I have no car payments and no children. I make about $55,000 a year because I work only about 25 hours a week. I could work more and earn much more, but I like the peacefulness of my life as it is. I finally have affordable free time, and that feels like the rarest thing possible. Everyone I know works too much. My day usually starts at 10 a.m., so I miss morning traffic, and I am usually home by 2 p.m., so I miss the afternoon rush hour as well. If you can figure out how to be your own boss, you should do everything you can to make it happen. It seems like the only way you will begin to earn what you are worth. At least it was for me. Story 94. Most of my career has been in marketing and product design. I have worked as a creative director and in product strategy. I currently manage one of the user experience teams at a large corporation. I earn a good salary, but it has been a challenge to advance. Story 95. I am a staff infrastructure software engineer. I entered the field when college was not required, and self-taught people were often more capable. Story 96. I have since earned my degree and attended graduate school, but I still have the same job that I got when I was a high school dropout. I am a union switching operator for an electric utility. It is a great job. The degrees, 70% of which were paid for by my employer, have made me better at my work and have increased my professional confidence, but they are not necessary for the job. Story 97. I taught myself to code without a degree and now run a one-person department at a small marketing agency. Story 98. I am an administrative assistant. I assist sales agents right now. I am working on a project management certificate so I can be promoted to event logistics, gain experience and tenure at this company, and then move into full project management work if possible. Story 99. I have worked in and around the audiovisual industry for 15 years. I have earned $100,000 or more and received higher salaries at more soul-crushing companies. I have unlimited paid time off and receive a bonus. Story 100. I am a small business owner. I dropped out of community college after a year when I realized computer science was not for me. I stumbled into running a copy shop at a big box store and discovered I enjoyed the copy shop work but disliked the big box environment. I moved to a local print and sign shop that also did specialty retail, worked my way up to store manager, and bought the business from the owners when they retired. My wife and I run it now, Over the last decade, we have expanded the print and sign offerings and our retail products. We recently doubled the size of our building, increased our product line by about 20%, and grew gross revenue by about 40%. We earn a comfortable living and are on target to retire by the age of 55. Story 101. I never earned a degree and spent 35 years in a well-paying job in information technology at a Fortune 500 company. Story 102. I dropped out of information technology and computer science because it was extremely boring and felt like torture. It was a dark time for me. I ended up working in a financial technology company. Story 103. I am a three-dimensional animator. My pay is not very good, mostly because I am at an independent studio right now. I will update you in a year or so. Story 104. I am an instrumentation technician. I will earn at least $150,000 this year. I love my job. The work is easy on my body, and I get half of the year off. Story 105. I'm a facility manager of a complex of over 50 buildings. Story 106. I am self-employed doing landscape maintenance, mowing lawns, shoveling snow, and so on. I make close to $50,000. I first worked for other companies and learned that I liked working outside and being physically active, but there were drawbacks. Working 60 hours per week of manual labor is not something I want to be doing when I am 50. Even in my 20s and 30s, I would rather have time off to enjoy things like camping. I did not want to move up to an office job that paid the same. The companies were billing clients at 3 times the hourly wage we could hope to earn. I was only called in to work in the winter if it snowed a lot, so I would go weeks or months without income. That last issue motivated me to find my own snow removal work, which slowly turned into a full route. I thought I would need a truck to do summers by myself because I hate driving, but then I got a bicycle trailer and I have not looked back since. My expenses are really low because I do not pay for a vehicle and the majority of my sites are within 500 meters of my house, 1 to 2 minutes away. There are days when I work 14 hours in the winter, but on average I work 20 to 30 hours per week, with only half of those hours being physical labor, and I do not wish to work more. I am paid by the month regardless of how many hours I work. I feel very privileged to like my job. My retirement plan is to work less as I get older. If I am 70 and still mowing 1 lawn per day, that is probably good for me. Story 107. I eventually earned my associate degree, but my job requires only a general educational development credential and a driver's license. I am a firefighter at a large city department with a strong union. I am at full pay and make about $100,000 without overtime. Firefighters who pick up a lot of overtime are making close to $200,000, and some exceed that. We hire a fair number of college graduates, but many of our members graduated from local Catholic schools. My joke is that their parents paid tuition for 12 years for them to take a job that only required that credential. In all seriousness, it is a fulfilling job with good pay and strong job security. Story 108. I have a master's degree. I work in the field of my degree and I love it, but a few things we were told as children have been proven false. 1. A higher education rarely leads to a job that pays well. 2. The most in-demand jobs right now do not require university degrees. Story 109. Surveying can pay well, but you work outdoors and sometimes coworkers can be unpleasant. The job can be rewarding when colleagues are supportive. In construction trades, some coworkers can be toxic. As a woman, I sometimes experience this differently. Some are religious extremists, some are conspiracy theorists, and some seem to welcome a slide toward fascism. Story 110. I work 3 days a week as a surgical technologist on a contract and am earning more than I ever have in my life. Story 111. I tried twice to earn a degree in physics and once in marine engineering. I am now a certified computer numerical control machinist. If I had gone this route instead of chasing lofty academic aspirations, I would probably have a house by now. Story 112. Business owner, former chief executive officer of a company listed on the National Association of Securities Dealers Automated Quotations Exchange, and military veteran. Story 113. I work in operations management at an applied behavior analysis company. I followed my father's example. I worked hard, spoke with the right people, and let them know I wanted to grow. After many years in retail operations, I moved into applied behavior analysis last year. Story 114, Business Development Manager. I worked in sales for several companies. I started as a box boy. Management recognized my potential and provided sales training. I worked my way to a seat at the table. Story 115, Information Technology System Administrator. I have an associate's degree in biology. It is not directly relevant to my current field, but I made it work. Story 116. I work in sales, and I earn significantly more than most people with degrees. Story 117. I was an electrical mechanic for the city power utility. Now I'm an electrical engineer. On-the-job training really went far for me and then some. Story 118. I work in information technology as a senior infrastructure engineer. I have several certifications, have built a small home lab, and learned much independently. My base salary is approximately $150,000. Most of my job involves reading and understanding technical material, troubleshooting issues, and conducting online research. Story 119. I am a software developer with 26 years of experience. I am almost completely self-taught. Story 120. Not me, but I have 5 people working for me who do not have degrees. They all earn over $100,000 as industrial security specialists. Story 121. Clinical Applications Analyst. I work in the public healthcare sector in the United Kingdom. The salary is not particularly high, but it is higher than that of my friends who did not go to university or learn a trade. Several friends with degrees earn less. I earn slightly above the median salary in the United Kingdom, which is more than I could have hoped for if I had stayed in retail or in call centers. Story 122. I am probably an exception as I was also a felon. Judgment was withheld. I am an engineer now. My current title is Assistant Chief Broadcast Engineer. This role involves both electrical and mechanical engineering. I am also a systems administrator, information technology manager, and a budding developer. Story 123. I worked as a union stagehand and as an arena and theater rigger. I injured my back doing that, and now I am a stage manager at a local news station. Story 124. I am an infrastructure engineer. More specifically, I manage storage systems such as storage area networks, storage arrays, backups, and tape libraries, handling petabytes of data. Many of my team members have degrees, which is fine. I often joke that I took the blue-collar information technology route. I left university after 1.5 years and completed an apprenticeship instead. It worked out all right. I earn as much as my colleagues who have degrees. University is not the be-all and end-all. I resent my secondary school for insisting that the only way to secure a good, well-paid career was to go to university and get a degree. That is simply not true. Story 125. I manage a produce department for a grocery chain in the eastern United States and make just under $100,000 a year. There are schedules everywhere, but other than that, it is not too bad. Story 126. Leadership in customer service and support for software companies. Story 127. I did not get a degree, but somehow I am the one everyone at work still asks for help. Story 128. I work at a steel mill. Low 6 figures with some overtime. You can get in right out of high school, and I work with people who do not even have a general educational development certificate. Story 129. I am an aircraft maintenance technician for a major United States commercial carrier. I started at about $70,000 and will reach a salary of $150,000 plus 5 weeks of vacation in 6 years. This is a union job. I work 4 days a week. I receive free flights to many destinations worldwide. The work is relatively easy most days. Story 130. I am a DevOps engineer. I have an associate degree in information technology with a focus on system administration. I worked my way up from the information technology help desk to this position. Story 131. A marketer earning $180,000 per year, entirely self-taught. Fortunately, My niche values hands-on experience and a proven track record rather than being book smart. Most of what is taught at university is outdated or better suited to corporate environments. Story 132. I am a graphic designer and Twitch streamer. I became agoraphobic after an accident, and the way the coronavirus pandemic was handled made me feel even less safe outside, which worsened my condition. During that time, I spoke to no one in person except my aunt, with whom I lived for 2 to 3 years. Story 133. Right now, I work in desktop and information technology support, making about $75,000 a year. Previously, before they outsourced us, I did product support for Dell Technologies, the server division, not desktops, earning almost $80,000. That said, college or university would probably have gotten me where I am a lot sooner, but practical experience and networking did the trick, just more slowly. Story 134. Machine operator in a large German-owned factory. Good pay, good benefits, and relatively good work-life balance. Could it be better? Yes. Could it be worse? Yes. Story 135. I am a content service specialist and have worked my way up since I was 18. I am now around many university students. They generally matured more slowly and know some things I do not. It goes both ways. They are usually afraid to think outside the box or break the rules. Story 136. I am cheating a bit. I have a higher national diploma in electrical and electronic engineering. It was a United Kingdom qualification that you could do part-time over 5 or 6 years. It was considered degree standard until the government changed it and employers lost faith in it. It essentially cost me nothing, although I had to work reduced hours to fit in the study. 1 12-hour day plus 2 3-hour evening classes per week. However, as it was a common practice back then, employers understood the need for flexible working. I worked for the railway. They actively encouraged me and gave me technical and salary promotions, with every exam success. When I left to enter wider industry, there was a bit of snobbery from those who took the traditional university and degree route, but in the long term it served me well. I had a career in hardware development for some heavyweight companies. I wrote firmware during the microprocessor revolution, then software, and eventually moved into financial analytics. It is a real shame that these types of schemes do not seem to be available anymore. Back in the day, you could get free higher education up to the age of 18, I think, and if you were enrolled in a course by that time, your studies were covered for the full duration. Story 137. Former storyboard artist. I used to make $75,000, but artificial intelligence dismantled the animation industry. I am now just barely making ends meet because I dropped out of animation school after my first year to pursue my career. That decision is often seen as a strong and impressive move in the industry, but a high school diploma is not enough these days. Story 138. I was a couple of credits short of 2 design-related degrees when I ran out of money, so I went to college but did not complete the degrees. I am now happily tattooing and piercing people and often use the knowledge I gained even without the degrees. Story 139. After high school, I started working on cars. Now I build rockets. Story 140. Electrician supervisor for the federal government, earning $110,000 per year and upwards of $190,000 with overtime. I am making way more than I ever imagined, and life is great. Trades are also a good stepping stone to help pay for higher education if it is not truly your forte. Story 141. I am a maintenance supervisor for a large trucking company. I got the job because I am a licensed electrician who can also program programmable logic controllers. $120,000 per year. Story 142. Commenting for my husband. He has no degree. He is a penetration tester in cybersecurity. He has been doing this for a little over a year and earns more than $100,000. He taught himself. Story 143. It took a number of different mini-careers to build up enough of a base, but I manage a team of people who are more highly educated than I am and who can do things I cannot. My job is to remove obstacles that interfere with their work and to find ways to advance their careers. I earn at the lower end of 6 figures, work 40 hours per week, am home for supper every day, and receive reasonable benefits and several weeks of vacation. Story 144. I am an administrator in a mental health facility for seniors. The pay is not that great, But I sleep well at night knowing that 16 vulnerable people have a safe and dignified place to spend their days. Story 145. I dropped out halfway through my psychology degree, and now I am a hairstylist with my own little studio. I make good money, set my own hours, and actually love what I do. My college self would be shocked, to be honest. Story 146. I own a pharmaceutical company that I founded. It was not inherited. Story 147. I am the information technology manager at a small factory. I maintain the computers, administer and program customizations in our enterprise resource planning system, and train all users. I also train and supervise the operators of our laser cutter and assist them when they make mistakes. Mostly, I sit in my office watching YouTube or listening to music while working in the system. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.